so we'll start with our first question is just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I can project if that's okay. Can you hear me in the back?
Yes.
All right, cool. Thumbs up if you can. All right. I said if you can. So I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. First, I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to be here this morning. I think that this is something that is extremely important for young people today, is to have information about financial literacy. It is something that is going to follow you for the rest of your life. How you manage your money is going to set the pace for the rest of your life. Now, I guess it's kind of my job to talk about money. I don't talk about it all the time, but probably 80% of my life is spent talking about money in some way, shape, or form. Just a little bit of background about me. I was born in Fort Myers, Florida, native Floridian my entire life. You don't find very many of us anymore either that are native Floridians these days. We have a lot of folks that are moving into the area, which is fantastic for our local economy. I went to school at LWHS School. Go Cowboys. I know y'all wouldn't agree, but that's okay. But yeah, you know, pretty typical family raising and different things like that. I actually got started at the bank as a teller when I graduated high school. I worked for a lawn company for a short period of time and then started working at the bank. Was it my first choice? No. I was going to be a weatherman when I got out of high school, and that was going to be the career path. But life sometimes throws you a curveball, and you just have to decide whether or not you're going to swing. So here we are 15 years later. So you can do the math on how old I am. I'll let you work on that. I understand part of this is a math class. But yeah, from there, it's just been a really great journey. I've worked my way up at the bank. I'm assistant vice president, office manager for our Chalet Suzanne office. Our office manages a portfolio of deposits somewhere around $60 million. Our loan balance that we have to maintain is somewhere around $13 million at the moment. So it's not a massive office, but it is certainly a good book of business here in the community. I've been a branch manager for about 3 years now, so I would have been 30 years old as a branch manager. So it's been a really great opportunity for me. I have my bachelor's degree in business administration from Polk State College, minor in supervision and management that's there, so it fits quite nicely for where I am in my life. Outside of the office, just kind of some of my little hobbies and pastimes. I enjoy home renovation, repair. I know some folks are like, what? Who enjoys that kind of stuff? But I absolutely love doing that kind of stuff. I was working on a table for my wife last night, building a console table for behind the couch. So that's kind of the pastime that's there. I've been married for 5 months, no children. Good Lord, everybody seems to be asking, you know, when are the kids coming? You know, so that's the next question after when are you getting married? Things that you guys get to look forward to. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. What else do we got this morning?
Well, I mean, I have lots of questions, but I like to just listen and ask questions. So you said that your loan balance was $3 million. So what does that mean? Like that's how much you're willing or able to loan to people?
No. So I have a balance sheet where we keep track of every loan that is currently on our books. It's basically our loans outstanding balance that's there. That is something that we want to grow. It is my job to grow that balance sheet because when we do a loan, we make money for the bank. Yep. Same thing on the deposit side. Your loans and your deposits are your biggest income generators for the bank. So
great. So what are your daily tasks as your assistant?
yes.
It was a mouthful. What was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So really the biggest portion of my job is handling the operation of the office and being accountable to our board members and our shareholders. Obviously, the bank that I work for is not a nonprofit. So at the end of the day, the most important thing for them is that I am making them money. And finding ways to do that, finding opportunities within our community, connecting with people that we can serve or transition a relationship from, that would be a great opportunity for me to do that. But that is the most important thing. I also manage people, you know, scheduling, making sure we've got coverage for our office, making sure everything is lining up with the budget. I don't have an accounting degree, but some days I feel like it would be really helpful if I did, because every single penny that we have coming into our office, whether it be income from a loan, whether it be expense for having a loan on the books, because there is an expense for that too, whether it's dues that we owe to the Federal Reserve, or fees that we have, or income on deposits, or expenses that we pay. Every single penny of that is tracked in general ledgers that are kind of behind the scenes operating. So being able to understand all that, that's the not fun part of it. But I also get to deal with people, come make presentations at schools. I've done several of those over the last several months. So really cool to be able to do things like that.
One of these students asked, how do you build long-term relationships with your customers? So how do you get people to come to you?
So that is a really good question. And I think that's one of the things that defines a good relationship manager, which is, it's not in my title, but it's what I do every single day, is manage relationships. It's also probably one of the hardest things about the job. You know, if a $2 million customer gets upset and walks off and says, nope, I'm taking my money elsewhere, that's a big deal for my office, because we make money in several different ways. You know, if someone parks $2 million in a low yield account at the bank, we can invest those funds in overnight funds with the Fed, and we can make a good little bit of a return on that. So if that customer walks away, that's not good. But at the same time, this is a small community. It is growing day by day, but I see these people at the grocery store, I see them at the gas station. I can't go to Lowe's or Home Depot and look like a bum without running into one of my customers. I went yesterday and my shirt, I had not ironed it, and of course I walked into 3 different people that I know, and I'm like, oh my gosh. You know, the best way that I could say to build those relationships is to make people feel important, and not just say things to make them feel important, but treat them like a priority. I understand that my job is not possible without the people that are loyal to our office. So I appreciate that, and that translates when I'm communicating with them. When they walk into my office, even when they're upset about something and, you know, they throw their sucker in the dirt, and even if they start yelling at me, I'm gonna treat that person with respect, because they do pay my paycheck in a way, you know? So it's one of those things. I also, you know, and you learn a lot of this stuff just in learning customer service and being trained on different things. But I try to connect it back to something that they've told me in the past every time someone walks into the office. You know, whether it was their son just went on a camping trip or something like that. Hey, how did the camping trip go? How was everything? You know, and then we'll share a story, you know, about camping or something like that. Or, you know, I have customers that just recently took a trip to Africa. So when they got back, I mean, they came in and they were just all excited about their trip in Africa. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? Where are the pictures? You know, so every time I get a chance, I try to build on that. And that's what creates a lasting impression, is investing in those people and in their lives. What's important to them should be something that's important to me as well. You know, if they're trying to save for their child to go to college, if they're trying to figure out how they can buy their first home, if they're trying to, you know, start a new business, those things have to be important to me, and they have to understand that those things are important. So that's really what builds those long-standing relationships for me.
That's great. And so Citizens Bank is, I don't even know the history, they started in like Frostproof, right?
Yes.
And so they're a great local community bank. So can you tell us like a little bit of the difference of some of these smaller community banks, and smaller, you guys are big now, but and then maybe like the online banks, kind of like, what's the difference?
So can I share a little bit about
Sure,
Citizens?
yeah, I don't know if
So,
you guys knew that.
Yeah, Citizens Bank and Trust started in Frostproof, just a short jog away, in 1920. So that's a really long time ago, 104 years.
Yeah.
This would have been before the Great Depression. So a fun fact, Mr. Maxey, who was the original founder of the bank, during the Great Depression, when people were doing runs on banks and taking all their money out, he would take a train to New York, get cash reserve, and bring it back to Frostproof so that they could have operating cash supply at that time. Since then, you know, the rest is history, but through recessions, through depressions, through housing bubbles and busts, you know, the bank has still been operational and in good standing in our community. We have 16 locations now. For the longest time, up until 4 years ago, we were located only in Polk County. Just about wherever there was a town in Polk County, we had a Citizens Bank and Trust location. It was just as simple as that. We also have our Hillsborough and Pasco offices, I believe is where they're located. Dade City, Plant City, Valrico, those areas. But yeah, so it's a really great history for the bank. There are lots of differences between online and in-person banking. It seems like the shift has been more toward online. Online banks offer a great deal of convenience. I mean, you could go online at 2 o'clock in the morning, set up a new account, get it funded, boom, just like that. Same thing with support. If you have a question at 2 o'clock in the morning and it is a burning question that you have to know at 2 o'clock in the morning, you could hop on a chat, you could hop on a call with a representative, and they could answer those questions. So you do have that support anytime you need it. You can do anything anytime you need it. Interest rates on deposits are generally a little bit higher. The biggest reason for that is if you are operating an online business, you don't have the overhead of maintaining a building. You don't have to pay for utilities. You don't have to, make sure that the grounds are kept up, and silly things like replacing a palm tree in front of my building is gonna cost like $2,000. It's stupid. You don't have to replace that palm tree when you're on www. So simple things like that. The con for online banking though, things are great while they're great. And this has just been my experience, you might be able to attest to this. I very much prefer when I'm dealing with something and trying to explain something to not have to go through the AI bot to ask my question, because I have to ask the question and then the AI bot spits out something else that is completely unrelated to the question that I asked. And that is before I'm even connected with an associate that can help me with my problem. So I'll have to have reworded this thing 3 or 4 different times. Mind you, I didn't know I was talking to a bot, so I thoroughly explained it the first time. So it's fantastic in that regard. So it's great until it's not dealing with something online. I would say also the community development aspect. One of the biggest things for your institutions that are local is that they help support things that are going on in that community. Stimulating a local economy, and I don't want to talk about, like all that kind of stuff too much, because that's a big area to get into this morning. But our local economies are just as important as national. We all like to see a busy downtown area. We like to have a shopping mall to go to. We like to have a nice clean park to go to. I enjoy going to a football game or a baseball game, on the weekends and different things like that. I like being able to go to the park and it be well maintained. Your online banks, they're not going back to that in your local communities. They are keeping the profit for that company. And this isn't just like a toot Citizens Bank and Trust horn. It is really all of our local businesses. We have to pay local tax licensing. We give back to the community in the different ways that we partner with different programs and sponsorships and different things like that. Not to mention, we keep those dollars local in our communities, and that's a plus. That's a win. That's gonna be your biggest difference between those. I would say your personal touch when you're helping someone walk through a situation and really being able to give back locally is the biggest thing.
So what are some things, these are young juniors and seniors, so what are some things that some young people that are entering the world need to know about banking or loans, credit, anything you want to share with them, some mistakes young people might make?
we could be here all day. No, so there's a lot to know about banking in general, making good investments, you know, saving for retirement, budgeting appropriately. I'll share just kind of some of the pitfalls that I think, it's not just a young person issue. It's something that I'll be honest, I think we have generation after generation created. We want convenience, and we're willing to pay for convenience. But we're kind of at that point right now where we really have to make some decisions, especially with our finances. Do we want to continue paying for the convenience and being broke? Or do we want to make some difficult choices and have a little bit of money? And I'll just give you a real example. We sat down several months ago, my wife and I, and we looked at our budget. And it was ridiculous, the amount of money that we were spending on restaurants. We're busy. I mean, we don't have time to do all of these, you know, meal preps and, you know, plan out everything. And I know this is kind of dumb, but we just didn't have time. So we looked at our budget, and for 1 month we had spent, I still remember the dollar amount, $938 in restaurants. And I'm like, why? And that doesn't include groceries, because we do buy groceries, you know, and we cook. We both cooked very well. But it's one of those things. I mean, we would be running late one morning, so we stop and grab breakfast at McDonald's or Starbucks run or something like that. Breakfast is $8 at McDonald's. Just to get something quick, when I could have grabbed a granola bar out of the cupboard and spent 50 cents instead of $8. You know, then you get busy and, you know, you've got your lunch break and you're running errands, trying to take care of things, and, you know, before you know it, you've ran out of time to take lunch and you go spend $12, $13 at McDonald's on lunch. So there, if you spent $12 at McDonald's for lunch and $8 for breakfast, you've spent $20 and you haven't even had dinner yet. And that's gonna be your most costly meal, you know? So we really kind of had to start taking a hard look at some things, you know? Other things that you would pay for the convenience of it, you know, like Netflix or, you know, all these different subscriptions that we had. Because we just didn't want to have to go through the list of channels that was there. We wanted to be able, yeah, let's watch this, and boom, there it was. So just silly things like that, and I feel like we've honestly traded convenience to the point where it's to a fault. And I don't think that that's just a young person issue. It is something that I would caution you against, you know, just be very mindful of where you are in your budget. It's very easy, you know, especially if you get a credit card or something like that, to just put it on the plastic. Even with a debit card. I mean, you just put it on the plastic, and before you know it, you're looking at your bank account, and you're like, why do I have 57 cents? I just got paid yesterday, you know, and it's like, what is this madness? So that's probably the biggest thing. You know, it's very easy. Plus, you know, we like having cool stuff, you know, like,
Yeah,
really
we're gonna
want a jet
go,
ski right now.
one of our last units, and I did it last one, purpose is budgeting. Like,
Yes.
doing the whole pie chart and like seeing of your income, like how much of it is actually going to food, and of that food, is it restaurants or is it your groceries, and then like the miscellaneous, like how big is your miscellaneous pie, you know. So speaking of saving, because we just talked about saving a lot, what percentage of income would you suggest they save a month?
I recommend at least 10%.
10%. We're almost done, so I'm gonna do rapid fire questions.
Okay.
You think we'll ever go cashless?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Not right away, but yes.
I think cash is going away. What's your opinion on pennies? There's a penny thing. I don't know if you guys know about pennies.
There is a penny thing.
There's a penny thing.
So nickels and pennies cost more to make than what they're worth.
It costs more than a penny to make a penny.
Yeah.
New pennies.
I'm not mad at them. Like, I'm cool with them being around. They're probably the most discarded coin that's there. I don't think that it really costs us anything to keep them around, because they're made by the US Mint, and the US Mint actually keeps its own budget. So they sell like, you know, collectible coin and do different kind of things like that. And so whatever surplus they have, they actually give back to the treasury. So it doesn't really cost the taxpayer to do it, but it would be nice to have money in the treasury.
Okay. These kids love a Venmo or a Cash App. What's your opinion on Venmos and Cash Apps and stuff like that?
Super convenient, pretty secure for the most part, to be honest. Most of them have 2FA, encryption, you know, you have to log in or have some sort of authentication that's there. On Cash App, unless you have the Cash App card, it's not really associated with a bank account though. If it's associated with a card, it's through a bank. It's Wells Fargo is the bank that's behind that.
And a lot of them like to just have their money sitting in these apps, but they're not growing any interest in
They're
these
not
apps.
doing anything,
Yeah.
sitting in your Dunkin' Donuts account or sitting in your Cash App account or your Venmo account. I mean, if you're gonna leave money parked somewhere and forget about it, it would be best to park it in a savings or some sort of investment and forget about it. That'd be the biggest thing.
I have some other questions, but we got 36, right?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. All right, so everyone give our guest speaker a round of applause. I know. So, but anyways.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
All righty.